Every single day, you turn on the news, there's another mass shooting, or there's another person struck down by gun violence.
We know that gun violence is a public health crisis. During the pandemic, what we saw in Washington is the highest number of gun sales. Gun sales went up around 70%. So while the libraries and schools were closed, the gun shops were actually open.
From a national standpoint, things are pretty dark and very challenging. We have a U.S. Supreme Court that is not sympathetic to what we would consider common sense, life-saving gun reform. We have a very divided Congress that can seem dysfunctional and holds out little hope for true common sense gun reform at the national level.
Firearm death is now the #1 killer of American children and teenagers.
I'm not only a representative of the Harrell administration, but I'm also a representative of mothers who have lost a child to gun violence and lost family members to gun violence. My son was 17 years old. He was my firstborn, so it was the most devastating thing that ever happened to me.
On November 8th, a kid brought a semi-automatic weapon to my school and he killed a classmate of mine.
The impact of gun violence shouldn't be a matter of arithmetic, in terms of how it impacts people. Whether it's one person, whether it's 10 people, one is too many. You can't quantify the hurt, you can't quantify the pain.
After the incident at my school, my group and a bunch of other students helped to organize a walkout. We continued that walkout from our school all the way down to Seattle City Hall, and we stood outside with thousands of other Seattle Public School students. And we demanded gun violence prevention measures and other safety measures within our schools. We demanded the banning of assault weapons. We also demanded more mental health resources for students at our schools to possibly prevent another incident like this ever occurring.
High school students, elementary students are literally marching in the streets demanding that grown-ups, that lawmakers, that people who have power do something about this issue.
There's a lot of asymmetrical compassion when it comes to gun violence that happens in the south end, which is predominantly folks of color, versus the north end of our city, which is predominantly white.
We know that our 18 to 24-year-olds, especially Black and Latino, are the highest impacted population of gun violence.
Parents don't let their kids go outside because they're scared that there might be a drive-by or something. Like, anything can happen. I want to be able to go out places without having to worry about my safety.
I lost my brother due to gun violence almost 2 years ago. I was going into my junior year when it happened, so it affected me very roughly.
We've had kids pass away for years before this, and we're just now being heard. We had a town hall meeting not too long ago, and I just heard my peers, and then eventually they let people speak, and I ended up being on the panel.
You have to talk about it. You have to speak about the pain. You have to speak about what changes you want to make, what impacts you want to make, and being a part of NAACP Youth Council has allowed them to do that.
Quite often, too often in fact, we hear that there's nothing that can be done. There's no laws that can be changed, and yet at this town hall, you had these young folks who were offering, novel, unique solutions.
We're now starting to see a change to prioritize the investments in community-led solutions and amplifying that young Black and brown boys of color are the most impacted.
We always ask, where is their justice? Where is their fairness? But the Alliance allows us to be justice. It allows us to be that fairness.
Just the way that it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to protect a child.
It is really important for people to get directly involved in all of our efforts to push for change.
I need to look my kids right in the face every night when I tuck them into bed and the morning before they go to school.
I was talking to my daughter recently. I said something offhanded to her about how her generation was going to have to step up and solve these problems. And she said to me, "Well, you're not dead yet. You should work on fixing this. I shouldn't farm this off to the next generation of kids."
It's an obligation not just for elected officials, for every adult in our community to make sure we provide that safe environment for our youth to learn, to prosper, and to grow.
We'll never have the world we want to create. We'll never have the society we want to create. We will never have the communities we want to create if we don't work towards it day by day, every single day.